How you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Man, the smile on my face should say it all. It's not that we're hosting a playoff game. It's that I live in the Bay Area. I actually get to see what another Bucs fan looks like. Oh, my gosh. We exist. It's
We do
unbelievable.
exist.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, been out here my whole life. I can probably name you 3 Bucs fans that I come across. So this right here is everything to me, especially at a time right now, playoffs. But go ahead and introduce yourself. Nicknames are okay if you what you want to use on Twitter. And if you want to give any of your handles out, go ahead.
My name's Jeremy. Been a diehard Bucs fan since the late 90s. Originally from Florida. I'm living in Maryland right now, so I'm with you. I don't see very many Bucs fans. In fact, I can't wait to get to work on Monday or Tuesday because I work with a lot of Cowboys fans, so it'll be a good day. And
Okay.
then you can find me on Twitter, Old SaltyBuc, and I'm a writer on BucsReport.com.
Oh, nice. That is sweet. Definitely gonna be keeping my eye on you. So me and my buddies do this. I'm the Buck fan. My other buddy's a Ram fan. The other one's a Cowboy fan. The other one's a Niner fan. So my group chat, I'm about 85 messages behind. That's them. So we're gonna get on after this, and we're gonna make fun of the Cowboys right after this. So I'm with you on that. I can't wait. My brother-in-law is an Eagles fan. He came over our first matchup, and they got the better of us. Couldn't wait to invite him over for this one. I got a feeling it's gonna be something different.
Oh, yes.
So payback is something else. But just your thoughts, just diving into the season. Just your thoughts on the season. Good season. Do you feel like we reached expectation? Could we have done a little bit better? In your thoughts?
I'd say it's all across the board, right? You came into a season where you had almost no cap space. You're carrying over the dead money from Tom Brady's contract and from other contracts. So you have little to no play in free agency. You only have a draft to improve yourself with, and you have to find a quarterback if, in this case, you don't trust Trask. And they went out and got Baker Mayfield coming off of his, third, fourth team, and needing to be rebooted himself. And so as you look at the beginning of the season, my anticipation was they had a ceiling of 9 games to win. And I expected them to be more in the 4 to 5 category for wins. Even with a bad division, with Carr being in New Orleans, my expectations were fairly low for the team. So do I think they lived up to expectations? Absolutely. In fact, they exceeded my expectations. But that's all on the GM. That's all on Jason. He goes out and he finds these players, whether they're undrafted, in the draft at the later rounds, and then free agents like Baker Mayfield to make this team still competitive, which is phenomenal. So your expectations question, I think they met expectations, if not exceeded them. So here we are in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they exceeded expectations. And when I did get a chance to look into the schedule, you don't want to just say, okay, that's a loss, that's a loss. But I had 5 games that I was for sure that we're going to struggle with.
Yep.
It was Philadelphia, Detroit, San Francisco, Buffalo, and the Jaguars fell off at the right time. They were the 5th. I felt every game on the schedule after that was ours to lose. We had it. And they just did a sneak peek, or they released the opponents for next year. And wow, what a schedule. But man, am I ever looking forward to it. This year, a favorite player this year?
So I've been a Mike Evans fan, since we drafted him. And so that I'd say that's my number one guy. Mike Evans has been, the teammate who puts aside contract issues to play, who isn't seeking the highest amount to get paid, and then puts out every day, injured, hurt, doesn't matter. Mike Evans is on the field, and he is contributing to the team. He's a phenomenal leader, both on and off the field. and he's a great guy in the Tampa Bay area. So Evans is by far he is my this generation's Derek Brooks. Like Derek Brooks was the man. I didn't expect any Buccaneer to ever touch him in my mind, and then along came Mike Evans. I'd say defensive side, Villa is one of the most stout defensive tackles, nose tackles you're ever going to see. He is by far the reason why this defense is successful as it is. When you have a defensive or a nose tackle that requires double teams, that can collapse a pocket, he frees up. And I don't think a lot of people realize that he doesn't have these large amount of stats because it requires two players to stop him, and it leaves someone else to do the dirty work. And he is by far one of the largest linchpins that's in this defense that allows us to do what we've done and be successful. So, yeah.
You've mentioned Mike Evans. Everything you said about Mike Evans, I agree. I mean, checks every single box for me.
Yep. And
Derek Brooks, like it's checking every box to compare them. Because for a long time, I'm wearing 20, but 13's different. 13 just brings something different on the other side of the ball that we just haven't had consistently. So I am completely with you. Into the Vita Vea point, like Aaron Donald was getting his biggest praise when Ndamukong Suh was next to him. It was what Ndamukong was able to bring. We got to experience that. It's what Ndamukong got to be able to bring. So I get you on the Vita Vea. It may not show up in the stat sheets, but it's what he does that allows Yaya Diaby to have 6 sacks in 6 games.
Absolutely.
Any player right now still under their rookie contract that you are excited about going forward that we can't let get out of the door?
I think you just touched on it. You can't let Yaya go. He has, granted, he came in, the draft profile sat there, and you brought up Aaron Donald. Draft profile brought up there that, his equivalency or they think his ceiling is an Aaron Donald type player. And granted, he didn't even start the first he played one game, got hurt, and was out for a few. Came in, was a rotational player, and then started being on the starting lineup shortly afterwards. His growth this season has been phenomenal, and it's only going to get better. And as long as he's paired with Villa on the next few years or so, that defensive line is still going to be one of the most dominant in the NFL.
And I think we're going to be one of the quickest ones off the edge too. The speed is there. Mm-hmm. It's there, and it's exciting. The youth that we have on that line. So let's talk about Antoine Winfield Jr.
Best safety in the league.
I mean, snub of the century. I mean, I've said it to the Cowboy fan of the group, and I said, put together a highlight tape, put it next to his. I said, hell, I'll do you one better. Take the league and put together a highlight tape and put it next to his.
And he single-handedly saved that Panthers game and put us in the playoffs. Single-handedly. There is no safety, and I hate that Pro Bowls are a stat that gets used in arguments for Hall of Fame ballots. And the fact that, he got snubbed, that's your prime example right there. That's what needs to be printed and put to every single voter's hands for the Hall of Fame. You cannot look at Pro Bowls as a statistic for an argument to put someone in. You could say the same thing about Simeon Rice when he was with the Cardinals and with the Bucs. The man didn't make Pro Bowls like that, but he was a phenomenal talent. But Antoine Winfield Jr. is in my mind, making himself a generational talent, and we cannot let him go at all. He's got to remain a Buck.
He has to. Like you said, the plays there, it's the Atlanta game, the never quitting on a play, again, saves another touchdown. The Drake London play goes low, he touches out of bounds. they fumbled the very next snap we get on it. Like,
Absolutely.
you cannot make this stuff up.
No.
It's crazy, right? Because, like you said, to the Pro Bowls, we're supposed to use this as some type of measuring stick to place this guy here. But what we're using to select these Pro Bowls, whatever tool we're using, it's broken.
It gets skewed. It gets skewed on, the Bucs aren't going to be the team that's always on national television. We got the benefit of that when Brady was here, and then now that he's gone, we don't. So you get fans who don't see the entirety of the league. They see the entirety of the top-notch teams that are put into the high-profile time slots for games, and so we kind of fall out of favor for that. I'm not saying this out of disrespect to people, but I don't think that people go back and look at the stats. I think they saw a couple highlights on TV. They see some of these teams like the Bills or the Chiefs or the 49ers in national spotlight all the time. So they see these individuals and they choose them, although Buda Baker isn't really in the national spotlight. But at the same time, fans recognize and know people because they've seen them on the TV, so they resonate with these individual players. Antoine Winfield doesn't benefit from that because he's a Buccaneer. And fans really have got to look at stats and impact, because by far the most impactful safety in the entire league right now, he put the Buccaneers in the playoffs. He's had that team on their back when the run defense failed. There's no other safety who has performed as well as he has this year. Not having a Pro Bowl is a huge snub, and a good reason why it's not a good metric for the Hall of Fame.
Agreed. He fills up the stat sheet everywhere. It's the sacks, the QB pressures, it's the forced fumbles, the fumble recoveries, the interceptions, the pass deflections.
Yep.
These guys that you put ahead of him, they some of them have goose eggs.
Yes.
Some of those categories. Like, I mean, come on. But moving on to coaching. Do you feel like tonight's game could be a coaching hot seat for Todd Bowles?
So, alluding to the piece of did we meet our expectations, I think ownership and the GM is going to say yes. But at the same time, I still see the mistakes that have gotten us in trouble before. I don't see growth. I'm not knocking Todd Bowles. He's a good defensive coordinator. He's a good head coach. But you have to be better than good in this league. When you fail to use your timeouts in appropriate manners, and it makes it so your offense can't get back on the field to put together a game-winning drive. When you fail to you play that soft defense, the Buccaneers are one of the worst teams in third and long situations in the NFL, because he goes out, does full-out blitz, he drops one linebacker into coverage. That one linebacker is the only defender that stands between offensive weapons on the other side and a first down marker, while the secondary corners and safeties backpedal 2-3 yards past, trying to keep the play in front of them. But they can't, which tells me he has no growth and he doesn't understand the capabilities of his own players and the lack of the pressure getting to quarterbacks on third and long situations. And that will kill teams.
And to that point, I'm glad you brought that up. There's two plays that, if there's something that's keeping me up for about this season, it's 2 third-down plays against the Detroit Lions. We had them 3rd and long, and it was the long shot to Jameson Williams for the touchdown. Yep. And then it was the other touchdown that they got. It was a 3rd and 10, and Amon-Ra comes on the cross, and he makes it to the end zone. 3rd downs, those two, the long one, we get them off the field, they're punting. The other one, they're in field goal range. We're playing for a field goal at the end of the game.
Yes.
It's that close. It's 2 plays for as great as they was on 3rd down conversions, as great as they ran, as great as they passed, blah, 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 blah. Those 2 plays and the game was there. It was there.
Absolutely. And then you can also take another example for the Houston game. That soft coverage at the end of the Houston game is what allowed. Now, C.J. Stroud is a phenomenal quarterback. I love that kid. He is, and he a young man. I shouldn't say kid. He's a young man. I'm old now, so I call everybody kid, right? So like, he is one. His football IQ is great. He can read the defense. The way he's able to be a leader already within that locker room, and the phenomenal person that he is on and off the field. Like CJ Stroud is next generation talent. Unfortunately, he also got to go against Todd Bowles end of game defense, which is always soft, and put the game away. So, yeah.
Hey, and thank God he ended up in that division and
Yes.
not at Carolina.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, when I saw that game the other day, I said, oh my gosh, this stamps it. Thank God he's in Houston and not in Carolina.
Absolutely.
But sticking with tonight, yeah, we're expecting to win. We don't show up without expecting one, but I just remember how we showed up to the Saints game.
Mm-hmm.
Division, we had a chance to wrap it up, rest some players, a big game, and we absolutely not showed up into something, it's the carryover with Todd Bowles. It's like when he was just the defensive coordinator, the miscues, the lack of miscommunication that he always kept speaking to when we got beat on the Hail Mary to the Rams. And then you spoke about it to the same miscues, fundamentals. We're not on the same page. Well, how long is it going to take? How long is it going to take? So really the question is what Bucs team do you think is going to show up? The one that plays complementary football, Canales is going to give it to Rachaad White. The ball is going to touch his hands. Are we going to get that explosive offense that the playmaking Baker made against Green Bay? Is the defense going to be flying Levante David side to side, or is it going to be one of those games where we pad the stats in the fourth quarter?
I think this game is tricky. I don't want to call it a trap game because it's a playoffs. Playoffs typically don't have trap games because you don't know what you're looking forward to. But the Eagles are coming in banged up. They're missing one of their best receivers. Jalen hurts his hand before this week, so he's coming in banged up. And so I think there's ample opportunity here to go into this game overconfident and drop the ball on this. But again, going back to that Todd Bowles point where he doesn't fire, I feel, and I think you feel the same way. And we're not in the locker room, so we can't specifically say, but it doesn't feel like Todd Bowles fires up a team. Today better be a day he does it. Today better be a day where he fires this team up and gets them going, because there is no way they win this game if they don't show up fast and furious right off the bat. I do think that Canales will get into his bag of tricks today. Now, I've been disappointed in him specifically in the last 2 weeks or so, but I've been disappointed in him throughout the season because he's been quite a roller coaster. I think in order for him to be in his bag today and pull some things out, it's all going to be relying on the interior offensive line. If they can't play top-notch football today, it's going to be a difficult game. I think they are the key that if they allow too much pressure, this game will quickly become a very close one, and I don't think it'll go in our favor. But if they play well, I think we can put up some numbers, and I think the defense will do their job, and I think we can get the W for sure.
And I think it definitely has to be, this is what I took out of the first matchup. It absolutely has to be the opposite of what it was. I gave the game ball to Philadelphia's offensive line the first time we played them. They ran outstanding. We didn't get to Jalen Hurts the way we needed to. That offensive line just completely set the tone for what they did.
Yep.
We have to own the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively. We got to be light on our feet. We got to be flying. We have to keep Jalen in the pocket and force him to have to use that finger, rely on that finger and not his legs. And I I think a heavy blitz package is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they don't have A.J. Brown on the outside for those 50-50 balls.
Yeah.
But, Devontae Smith is tricky with his speed. Dallas Goedert, big on third downs of a reliable and an often target for Jalen Hurts. So hopefully we don't get too many matchups with Devin White covering Goddard, and we're tuned to that, and we see and we get Devontae David matched up. But who do you see in this game having on our side having to have the biggest impact, either offensively or defensively?
So defensively, they didn't face Yaya last time.
Mm.
And I think Yaya is going to have an impact in this game. And I think he shows up and this defense is going to smother the Philly offense. So I think Yaya's got to have a big impact. He's got to for us to win. But I will say you brought up a good point. Our defense has struggled against tight ends, and Goddard's good. He's an all-around quality tight end who is under the radar when you compare him to other tight ends across the league because he falls very short of those stats that you see the big numbers being put up. But he very well can do those things if he was the primary focus. Right now he's not, and he's not going to be a Travis Kelce, but he can sink another team's defense if he's not covered correctly. So it may come down to the linebacker core or the second or third safety that drops in the box who's covering him to dismantle this offense. And again, offensively, I'm gonna give you three people who are the keys to this, and it's that interior offensive guards and the center again. We have the right tools on the outside. We have a good quarterback. Rashad White's doing his part. So in order for the entire offense to click and to get into rhythm, that interior offensive line has to stay put and do their job. So for sure.
Right on, Jeremy. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Just appreciate the conversation. I really was just flowing with it off the top of my head. It was just so great. Man. I'm kind of scrambling for more content, but I think we nailed it, man. I think we had a great conversation. Again, I appreciate your time. Again, when I started this podcast, just a little background, like I watched the sport, ESPNs and whatever all day, and I'm yelling at the TV when I don't like a take. And I was like, you know what? Somebody's going to hear me. So I started this. I said, if it's just one person that hears me, okay, if I could have a conversation with one. And the subscribers started growing. I was like, okay, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, somebody's listening. So I was like, I got to keep going with this. And again, it was just to offer a platform for sports fans. I don't care what your team is. I love sports. I can talk your team. Give me a day or two. I could really, really dive in and we can have an in-depth conversation about your team. So I appreciate you. We had a guest on, but he was local. We knew him. So you're actually the first guest that reached out to, did the legwork and got on. And when I tell this story to my buddies, I said, I added him on the post because, something that he posted I liked. I said, he responded so quick. I got nervous. I got scared. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? My heart started pounding. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, deep breath, respond. So
no, man, you're doing a great job. I like listening in. And I'll tell you, I got a similar story. She's not here right now, but my wife couldn't stand me yelling at the TV. And then I would talk to her about the Bucs and she'd just be like, oh God, here we go again. And so I started a blog that got no traction whatsoever. And I saw a post from Bucs from my first writing was with full press coverage. And I responded to a post that said they needed some writers and they didn't have anybody covering the Bucs as much as they wanted to. So I joined a small team there and I started learning some things and whatnot. And then I got connected with Bucs Report. and haven't looked back. BucsReport.com. We have a great little fan-run site that's, some guys. But what you're doing, what we're doing, the mainstream media doesn't cover the Bucs like they should, and that's kind of what started it for us, right? Like, we didn't get enough attention, so our fans are out here doing it and doing a better job than mainstream media. So that's why I appreciate you, man, and I love the show.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. And to the small markets, like you said, they don't get the national coverage. The first person that reached out to me really was a Detroit Lions fan. Okay. I had a title about talking about the Lions, and there's a lady too, and so she responded. She's been real tight with the show, so she was like, we can't get the Detroit Lions content anywhere. So I'm just happy somebody's talking about us. I did it preseason. I said my projections. I had the Jaguars in the AFC going to the AFC Championship game, but boy, did they fall off. They were there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And yet I had Detroit Lions going to an NFC Championship game. So they're one game away.
One game away.
And they're going to have to go through us to do that.
Yes. Now, and here's what I kind of like about how this playoff shapes out. We beat the Eagles. That's one team we lost to during the regular season. We played Detroit, and we beat Detroit. We can start calling this a Buccaneers revenge tour. And if that happens, Bucs fans will go crazy.
You're thinking like me. You're thinking like me. Think like a Buc, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Think like a Buc. I thought the same thing. When I saw the division leaders and whoever's making, I said, we played them. We downloaded data. Data. And like I say, I live in the Bay Area, bunch of Niners fans. Friday when I walked out of work, I want y'all again. The Cowboy fan texted me a while ago. We did y'all a favor. That's all he said, right? I know. I text him back. We want San Francisco. You didn't even have to tell me what that text was about. We're not running from nobody, like you said. It's a revenge tour, and on the revenge tour, we don't run from nobody. They're lining up perfectly.
What they seem to forget is we've got nothing to lose. Nobody expected us to be here, so each just by snapping the ball when the clock starts running today, we've already won because most of the expectations were that we'd be in the bottom of the barrel. So they can talk all they want. You still got Dak as a quarterback in Dallas, so don't talk too much crap to anybody else. At this point in time, Green Bay has more playoff wins in Dallas than Dallas does, so they can't say anything about that, and it's like, well, whatever. But yeah, revenge tour, man, revenge tour, dude.
Yeah, they need to name that Green Bay Stadium instead of AT&T Stadium. Green Bay Stadium. That is just horrific. But yeah, man, we friends on Twitter, so anytime you want to have a conversation, something that just ticks you off and say, you know what, just I don't know if they're reading it, you gonna hear me, DM me, and we can run this back all day, every day. We'll schedule a mutual time and we will knock it out.
Hell yeah. I'm game, right, man. I'm game.
Right on, Jeremy. Nice to meet you again. Nice Appreciate you for having you. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Just Another Sports Podcast. Appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Later.